Just wanted to share a couple of experiences with you that have happened in the past. I recently did an interview with Grant Cameron, so hopefully that'll be out soon. And also I did a live panel discussion on orbs with Grant and his assistant Sinead. Sinead actually is not far from me, so I invited her out for a walk in the forest, and she was able to have a discussion with my landlord, who has experienced a couple of incidents in the backyard at home of loud Sasquatch vocal incidents that were directly behind the house. So that was more validation, which was awesome. Validation is always great. I really enjoy to see other people experience and validate these experiences, because as I've been very vocal about Sasquatch, their activity, their presence, it's all paranormal. These are interdimensional beings, an ancient race of human types that possess some incredible abilities that shatter our current paradigm. It was back in 2015, after some animosity that went on between Dwayne and myself because of the stalking and all that. That's been predominant throughout this entire situation. This has gotten to the point where there's been helicopters, Cessna flying over the cottage on that last visit, using some sort of technology looking for them. A lot of trespassing and harassment, and this is what happens when you get this close to this truth. There's people that don't want this stuff known, right? But you know where they can go, because too many of us know now. So anyways, I'd rented a cottage for a week back in, I think it was October 2015, and I invited Sonia Zohar to come down and experience Neff's family and their presence and their activity. And we did a on-camera chat there. There's a video on my channel with two of us, but there was one part that we left out that she wasn't ready to talk about. That's fine, I understand. But at this point, we had a little discussion recently, and I let her know that I wanted to give my point of view from what happened. So we were, and this has to do with some of the orb discussion, right? So it was really late. We were at the cottage, and I had a sore back. I decided to take a walk up the driveway, long driveway, and I got up to the end of it. It's surrounded by trees, and I laid down on the gravel on my back. And as soon as I laid down, I heard a footstep come down on the gravel directly behind my head. It was literally with just a few inches, if that. So I give a little chuckle. I sat up and I said, hold on, I'll be right back. And I went back to the cottage. I got Sonia. I said, come on, we got Sasquatch. And we grabbed a blanket, went up and sat down on the end of the driveway there. And it wasn't long, within minutes, something came charging through the bush at us. And that night, as many nights up there, was one of those dead still nights. So you can literally hear a pin drop. It's that quiet up there, which is great for audio recording. I just absolutely love it. So we got this bipedal running at us that had the weight of a bear. And just for a brief moment, I had that thought that we were being charged at by a bear. And just kind of sitting there, and you don't really have time to do anything. And then right at the last moment, it did a pivot and went off in the other direction. And I recall the sound just disappearing into thin air. It just appeared out of thin air and disappeared into thin air, and it was gone. I've been through a lot of this, so I was fine with it, and I wanted to sit there and see if anything else would happen. Sonia wanted to go back down to the cottage and discuss the situation and the experience we just had and decompress. And so we did, and went back down there. And this is the part that we haven't talked about publicly. So we're sitting in the cottage. There was a couple of tea candles lit for light, and there was a couple of cylindrical battery-operated candles. Just look like candles, right? Tall, cylindrical, but they're battery-operated. And there was a light in the soft glow in the corner of the room. So at one point in our discussion, we didn't realize this light was not the lamp in the corner of the room, but it was pretending to be. And when it left, it wanted us to know that it was there. And it was like this big whoosh come through the room, and suddenly we were sitting in darkness. All the candles went out, including the 2 battery operated and the tea candles that were lit, and they all went out at the same time. It was just this incredible paranormal incident that just left us kind of sitting there in shock. As much activity and experience that I've had with this, it can always surprise you. So that there was quite a few things that went on that weekend. We were walking along the gravel road at one point. She was just ahead of me, and I noticed there was a point of light. There was a very small orb about a foot behind her, right behind her neck, and I noticed this, and I had commented on it. I guess I don't remember it disappearing or anything. It's been quite a while, but there was another incident while we were walking, and I'd asked to see. I'm always asking to see light, so I asked, and this orb appeared out of thin air, just above and in front of her. She didn't see it, and it was very quick. Lasted about, might have been a second, if that. It did a boomerang trajectory, come out of thin air. It was a whitish orb, did this trajectory, and then just disappeared again, and put in front of my eyes for me to witness. So there was several orb incidents that weekend. And then there was one that happened with Dwayne and I that was just absolutely mind-blowing. It was like this plasma-type, red, pulsating, glowing orb that had this bright red nucleus. So when this happened, Dwayne and I were sitting outside, and again, it was late, very late and dark, and we were sitting there, and this is, I think this was 2013, I can't remember, but I know there was still a lot of fear going on back then. So at one point, Dwayne got up, and there's an incline. We're sitting on the gravel, beside the gravel road there, and directly on the other side there's an incline. It's fairly steep, and that's where the woods start. And suddenly he gets up, doesn't say anything. He just gets up and takes off and starts walking up into the woods, which was really out of character for him. And I said something like, "Where are you going?" He didn't say anything. He just kept going. And I watched his flashlight go up the hill. And at one point, about halfway up, it stopped. So I give it a couple of minutes, and then I said, "Screw this!" And I went up, and I found him and where he was standing, and I said, "What are you doing?" And I'm standing facing back down towards the cottage, and suddenly I see this light, and I go, "What the hell is that?" And I'm trying to get a better view. It might have been 100 to 150 feet from us, and mention this thing, and Dwayne can't see it, so I grab him by the shoulders. I pull him closer so he can see through the trees, and he got excited because he'd seen this, he'd witnessed this before up in the forest with his girlfriend. And from what I remember, what he told me, it was a row of lights, that red lights that had turned into what looked like a translucent red doorway in the forest, basically a portal type of thing. Very otherworldly. And so we stood there and we watched this thing, and it looked maybe about softball size, and it pulsated to maybe about 3-4 feet in diameter, and it was a slow pulse, like it was just kind of glowing and getting bigger and smaller, and then it started doing this, started dancing around, and we're sitting there watching this thing. I don't know how much time went by, I can't remember, but I think it was quite a bit of time, and I had the audio runnings. I'd have to go back and look at that, and I remember it was a lot longer than it seemed, because it just seemed like a few minutes and then it was over. But at one point, while we're watching this thing, I decided to take one single footstep to get a better look, because of the trees and that. And it was very prominent. This thing just glowed bright red, and it was just mind blowing. And as soon as I took one single footstep, it was gone. It just disappeared, and that was it. It was over. So there's been numerous incidents of orb activity that is directly related to Sasquatch presence, and I've witnessed them both in real time and captured them in photos and on video. One even inside my tent. It was minus 18 Celsius that night, and this was down near my feet and flew upwards in my tent. There's no bugs flying around in minus 18. These are some of the incidents that have happened over the years. I have about 12 years in on this research and about 7 years of ongoing contact, which it just shows up where and when and how they choose. I have no control over this. And when I say where, they can show up in your living room, even your vehicle, which I've had happen several times where there's been activity happen in my car, both when I've been out of it and come and found sign of their presence in my vehicle, and it's happened a couple times when I've been in the vehicle. So they possess some absolutely incredible abilities of energy manipulation. Whatever it is, it's all quantum physics, and at some point science is going to have to acknowledge this, because they've been ignoring it for far too long, and there's far too many of us that are far past science in this subject. So hopefully that changes soon. My own belief and understanding at this point is the Sasquatch, who are a people, are going to, they're waiting till we get to a certain level of understanding, a certain level of consciousness about, the bigger picture going on around us, before they're going to really vamp things up and expose themselves in a big way. That's my belief, through an experience they've given me, through a couple of experiences. I have some, areas I go to that are in Neff's area. In the off time, Dwayne and I, we tend to, spend a certain time of year. We like the winter because it shows footprints, which allows Neff's family to, show their presence a lot more with their prints and that. And also, we can keep an eye on things with any trespassing going on, because these people can't hide their footprints, right? These just, like I said, there's been all kinds of infiltration and stuff that's gone on. And, I don't know what's wrong with these people. They don't get it. You're not going to get anything. You're just not. They know. They read you. They're highly telepathic. And your intention gets you nothing. It's that simple. And until you change your ways, you're going to get nothing. You're just going to waste your time. Hey, have a nice walk in the woods. So anyways, I have this spot that I go to, and I've brought in friends and family in there. One friend, John, we've gone in there a couple times, and there was one where we were sitting under a tarp. It was in the middle of daytime, and it was raining, and there was a tree branch pulled down right in front of us, and it was blatantly pulled down with a hand and then just let go, where just kind of flung up into the air. And there was a walk past the tent in the morning that John experienced. I didn't hear that one, but I did hear the one with my nephew, which he didn't hear. So there's been a couple of times where there's been some heavy walking right past the tents, and I mean within arm's reach, where It's that close. You can grab hold of an ankle. And then there was, I've been there where I'm alone a lot of the time. And there was one incident where I'm in my tent. I just got into my tent. It's late, it's dark, and suddenly I hear bipedal footsteps come right up towards the tent. It was maybe about 20 feet away, but heavy enough. And you tend to get this impression of bear often enough, right? So that's my main concern. I don't need a bear walking up to my tent, which I've also had happen. At least I thought it was a bear. Where I've also known there was Sasquatch presence at the same time. But when I go out there, they have shown up literally 100% of the visits. And I tend to put my audio out, and they tend to show their presence through my audio all the time. And they do a lot of stick breaking, stuff like that. I'll play you a couple pieces of that, which just gives you an indication of some of their activity and how they expose themselves and let you know that they're there. Which I might not know at the time, that I learn after the fact. And they know what I'm doing. They know what the audio does. They're highly intelligent. So anyways, I made one visit with my nephew. He was 25 at the time. I think he's probably about 29 now. And when we got there, we were setting up our tents, and a tree was pushed over. Not as big as the one that you heard in this earlier on. Definitely not as big as that. But there was one point, it was around dusk, and this stretch of road that we were camped off, there was it's a gravel road, and there's nothing right there. There's cottages off in the distance, but there's nothing there. So at one point, we were sitting there in our chairs, just having a beer and having a chat, and suddenly we hear footsteps appear out of nowhere and just start walking. And my nephew caught a visual through the trees. He saw a dark figure, and he said it disappeared, when he saw it. I got up and went down, took a look, and there was nobody there. There was no person there. So I'm going to play about 5-6 minutes of audio context of our discussion right after that happened. So if you want to give this a listen for the end of the video. There was another thing that actually happened while we were there too, which I've never witnessed before. That was the first. We were sitting in the chairs, and it was probably about 5-6 feet in front of us. And I've heard this discussed before, and it was a shimmering, right in midair. This again seems a little otherworldly, which it's some sort of vibration or portal, or I don't know what it is, but it's definitely to do with their presence. And so my nephew, he got to experience quite a few things. They added up over the time we spent there. So I hope to bring him back at some point, and hopefully they give a little more and allow him some more experience, which I'm sure they would, because they've been extremely generous over the years in giving supporting evidence and experiences, and this continues. I hope it continues for the rest of my life. So I'm just going to keep doing this and keep sharing stuff and teaching what I know, most of what I know. I don't tell you everything. And I'm here to help others understand, because it's out there. This stuff is it shatters, it blows apart our paradigm. So after hundreds of experiences, you really get to see how conditioned humans are, how brainwashed we are by mainstream and the establishment. Hopefully all this eventually, and sooner than later, wakes more people up and allows us to see through all the deception and lies being imposed on us. So anyways, I hope you enjoy. It's peanut butter cup, some dark chocolate. You know who, my friend? You guys. That was just me snapping that stick. I think my friends just pushed a tree over.
I heard someone walking right there.
Oh, I know. There's nobody there.
I know. I think I saw a shadow walking, I feel like.
Yeah, there's nobody there.
I know. And then as soon as you went down there, 500 feet in the distance, I heard a yelling.
Well, that can be people.
I know that can be
cottages.
people. Yeah.
But there's nobody there.
I know.
That's them.
I swear I saw a shadow though.
That doesn't matter. Well, you can see a shadow of
Oh,
them.
I know they can be there. I'm just saying, like, I feel like I saw a figure over there almost. Because I almost was gonna say, oh crap, there is someone there. Someone's walking there.
Yeah, that's
And then
them.
as soon as you turned the light on, it was gone.
That's them.
Yeah, I know. That like
See?
gave me my whole entire body just shivered like
See,
so
there's another.
much.
That was a good one. There's nobody on that road. There's nowhere to go right there. There's nothing
I
there.
know. It's a big hill that drops there, and if you go, it's so noisy.
Yeah, you know, you'd hear the walking.
Yeah.
That's funny. We have some Sasquatch friends with us. Oh, that was pretty cool, eh?
Yeah.
That was clear footsteps.
Yeah, it was.
That'll be on the audio probably. Thank you, my friends. I asked for something blatant.
Oh, like chills ran through my whole entire body there. It was so freaky.
Well, that was awesome.
It was. Very good. Very awesome.
That's a few things now,
You know, they keep adding up.
and they'll keep adding up. Thank you, my friends. Say thanks.
Thank you, my friends. Thank you.
I should have looked for some footprints.
That's what I thought you were doing.
No, I was.
You're just seeing if there's a person there?
Oh yeah, I was
Yeah,
looking.
no.
I wanted to know if somebody was on the road.
Yeah.
You
Well, I
know?
knew you were doing that first, but then I thought you just kind of like looked quickly. You're pretty hard to see right now.
Oh no, you could see anybody walking down the road.
No,
problem.
I mean like because you don't know exactly where he was walking. I don't know. I'm just saying it'd be hard to find a footprint.
Oh, with the looking for footprints.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with a little flashlight.
No, I didn't even look. I was
Yeah.
like, I wanted to see. Okay, is there somebody on the road? And there wasn't.
It clearly was like a figure walking. That's not mine's playing tricks. That's nothing. That was clear footsteps.
Yeah, it was just a dark figure, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I thought I kind of got a little glimpse myself, but
No, because the closer it got, I started looking, and just before you turned the light on, I started seeing it walk like almost towards the truck or on the road. It felt like.
well, you notice the other thing, the footsteps just kind of appeared out of nowhere, right? And then they just disappeared. Something I've heard all too often. But that was cool, man. That was clear footsteps.